Welcome friends, Katrina here with Homegrown Florida, and today we are going to be talking all about broccoli. This guy right here, look at him. He's ready to be harvested. I'm going to show you exactly how to grow broccoli, including how to harvest this guy right here. So I always start broccoli from seeds. I think this is one of those vegetables that are just very easy to start from seed. It reminds me a lot of lettuce, but I don't necessarily encourage you to start from seed, direct seeding. Broccoli can be a bit of a diva when it's young, and so I strongly encourage you to start these guys in trays. You are going to have much more success if you start them in trays. Doesn't mean it's impossible. It's actually completely possible to grow them direct seeded. I have done this. I have another bed where I have broccoli that is direct seeded. It just seems to take longer. It also bolts faster. We're going to talk about what that means exactly. And the bugs really go after it when it's young, and it's very frail when it's young. So starting them in trays, even outside, you don't have to have special lights or mats or anything like that. Just something to put the seeds in. That can be a tray if you want to purchase those, or it can be something as simple as an egg carton or toilet paper rolls, whatever you have on hand, little pots, whatever. And you can start them outside. You don't have to have some growing light system inside to do this. I've started all of these outside with the exception of a few that I did start in my Arrow garden. I'll put the video here for seed starting kit that I got with Arrow Garden that helps you start seeds, and they grow very, very fast. But the traditional way works perfectly too. So the first thing to know about growing broccoli is that there are different types or varieties, as I'm sure you know. But the two main types of broccoli are a heading broccoli like this guy, and then something called a sprouting broccoli. This looks a lot more like broccolini, where you have these thin heads that pop up. They're more tender. I actually prefer them. I think they taste great. But for space-wise, heading broccoli is always my go-to. These heading broccolis are going to kind of give you more, I think, or at least that's my experience. I think some people might disagree with that. Broccoli plant takes up a lot of space. It takes at least a foot, maybe a foot and a half of square footage. You really want your biggest bang for your buck, and believe it or not, it's not the head that's the biggest bang for your buck. It is the side shoots that happen. So once I take this head off, this plant is going to produce all these side shoots of smaller heads. That's where you really get a lot of volume, especially if you get a variety that is known for having lots of side shoots. I found that the sprouting broccoli isn't as prolific when it comes to those side shoots, and so you don't get as much. So not only are you not getting the big head, but you're not getting that excessive side shooting as well. Also, I have learned that not all heading varieties are equal. This is a cool weather crop, so it likes cold weather. And I'm in Florida, where we don't get cold weather. So how do I grow these? Variety. Variety is everything when it comes to these. Not only are you looking for a bolt-resistant variety, you're actually looking for a heat-tolerant variety. You would think that those mean the same thing. They do not, because bolting can occur from day length, or daylight, sun length, and it also can occur from heat. So slow bolt varieties are not necessarily what you are looking for when you are looking for broccoli, or any other plant for that matter. If you think about it, we get soft neck garlic and short day onions because our day length is quite short. I think we go from 9 hours at our shortest to 12 and a half at our longest. That's quite different from our friends up north who can go, like in Alaska, I think they go from like 18 hours to 7 hours or something. That's quite a bit of difference. And so it's the daylight that really is impacting when you look at that slow bolt. It's really mostly talking about daylight, although it could also be talking about heat. And that's why you need to read those descriptions very carefully, because heat tolerance is really what you're looking for. Look for those exotics, or those broccolis from I think like Eastern Asian countries. I always look, if I see Japan, anywhere in Central or South America, those typically are really good varieties for us here, because especially the Central and South America varieties, like there is a, I can't pronounce it, I'll put its name right here. But that variety, it's a Brazilian variety, and that one grows really well down here. That's a sprouting type, so be careful. But this one right here is called Acadia. And Arcadia is a variety that heads very large, and that's why I like it, but it's very hard to find. Another variety you might like, I'm going to try them next year, I didn't try them this year, is Green Magic. By the way, these are both hybrids. So there's also Decicio, I'll put the name right here, and Waltham does some that are okay for down here. They're more like a medium to small size head. So once you have seeded your trays, you're going to keep them moist and keep them outside. They don't really need the dome cover for down here where we get a lot of humidity, but if you're a little bit more north of here, you may want to consider the dome if it's not warm enough during our winter months. Once they've sprouted, you're going to wait for about 2 to 4 of the true leaves, not the seed leaves. So the seed leaves are the first 2 leaves that show up. Don't count those. Wait for the first 2 to come. Then what you're looking for is 4 to 6 total leaves. So 2 true leaves and 2 real leaves. Once they've gotten to that size, then you can transplant them out into the garden. They take a while to grow, and it's funny because they seem like they're small for a very long period of time, and then all of a sudden they get like this, where they're huge and they're bushy and the center just pops out, and it is only out for a short period of time. And I think that has to do with our heat. It's basically what it's doing is it's bolting. Weirdly enough, it's bolting, it's going to flower. All of these, if I were not to take this head, these would all turn into these little really cute yellow flowers that the bees adore. So that is actually the flowering stage, and that's the part that we eat, is the flowering stage. If it does go to flower and you start to see it popping open into those little yellow flowers are starting to come out, still edible. The actual flowers are edible. They're actually really good. I think it just tastes like broccoli. So I harvest even if I'm a little past due. Doesn't matter. But this guy is actually pretty perfect for harvesting. The head is very tight. The little florets, or the little parts where the flowers are coming out, they're very tight. They're not about to open yet. They probably got about maybe 4 to 6 days before it's going to start popping open and the flowers are going to come. So we got this guy right in time. In terms of feeding, I'll usually feed it something nitrogen rich, and all that I did for fertilizer in this bed is when, and I'll put the video here, I'll put the video up here, or a link to the video. I'll also put it down in the description of when I did fertilize this entire garden, and that was at the beginning of the season. All I did was I put blood meal down. That's the only fertilizer I have used. Oh, with the exception is I was testing out compost tea. I wanted to see how well that worked. Works pretty good. So I did some compost tea, but honestly, I think they would have been fine. Usually they are very nitrogen feeders. That's where all the green comes from, but they don't really require a lot. If you've got decent soil and you fertilize at the beginning of the season, that should hold them over through the whole season. They like about 1 inch of water a week. So that's usually, for me, that is 15 to 20 minutes 2 times a week. Could be different in your garden. It depends on how much water holds in your soil or how much water evaporates from your soil. If you use mulch, there's a lot of things that go into how often you need to water. Next up, bugs. So I don't get a lot of bugs on my broccoli, probably because of the time of year we grow broccoli. We start them in October-ish. Depends on when you start getting cooler nights. It's hard to say. I always have a difficult time with this. It's hard to say start in October, start in September. It's really dependent on the weather. And for me, when I start to see the evening temperatures move into the 60s, from the 70s or 80s that we have during the summer to like the 60s that we start getting in fall, that's what tells me I can start my broccoli. And that's when I started these guys, were in October. Because I started them in fall, or start them all the way to winter, I don't deal with that many bugs. The one bug I did deal with, or sorry, 2 bugs that I did deal with, was slugs and cutworms. And that usually impacts them when they're young, when they're seedlings. And the best way to deal with these that I've found is I come and pick them off at night. So I will walk my garden at night when I'm walking my dogs with a little headlamp, and I look for them. The other way that I found that seems to work really well is I save all of our toilet paper rolls, like the ends, the inside cardboard piece, and when I put the transplant in, I will put the toilet paper roll over it. And what that does is the cutworms will come towards that toilet paper roll and they will stop. It will basically block them from getting in there. Works like a dream. Works perfect. I've been saving all of those up now, so whenever I put seedlings in the ground, you will probably see paper towel rolls. And in fact, I have some right here. And they decompose. Because they're cardboard, they decompose. I just leave them in the bed. Now we're going to harvest this big one. So as you can see here, this guy is very dark green. You can almost start to see a little bit of the yellowing. And so that's the first step that you know that your broccoli is going to start flowering soon, is the tight heads will start to loosen, or these tight little florets will start to loosen up and they'll look fatter or more plump. And then you'll have these little yellow spots happening. So I'm just going to come down here. And you can go as far down as you like, really. I like eating the stems, so normally I do very far down. But for this one, I'm just going to take that much. Look at that. You can actually already see right here this tiny little side shoot. That tiny little side shoot is already starting. It's already getting ready to do side shoots, which is awesome. And so I'm going to clip these outer leaves off. Oh, look, there's another side shoot. That one's rather big. But this one is really going to be excited about creating more side shoots in it. All of these down here at this base, all of these will produce those side shoots. And so very prolific. Besides these side shoots that are growing, these little tiny guys, and the ones that are coming off the side of our broccoli right here, you can also eat the entire plant. These leaves are great like collard green substitutes. You can eat them raw, but they're a little tough for me to eat raw. But I like to cook them and use them either as spinach or like a collard green substitute. Another thing that is really edible and very, very yummy is this stem right here. And even your grocery store broccoli, you can eat the stem. So what I'll do is when I bring this inside, I will cut this down so it's a little more smooth, and then I'll peel the stem and cut them into coins basically, and you can kind of cook them like you would carrots. So you can saute them, you can roast them, you can boil them. They're really, really good. So that's it. That's all you have to do to grow your own broccoli in your garden. I'm gonna get inside, get this cut up, and we're gonna have this for dinner tonight. Thanks so much for watching.